its European origin. By the end of the epidemic in 1619, it is estimated that 70% of the Wampanoag population died. The most severely affected areas, including Patuxet, the future New Plymouth, were almost entirely depopulated. The remaining survivors in these communities dispersed to nearby Wampanoag towns.
Despite these challenges, we're still here, living in communities around Massachusetts and Rhode Island, keeping our ceremonies alive, honoring the ancestors. We're so glad you've chosen to learn more about our history and culture.
Located along the banks of the Eel River, our home site features winter and summer homes, a planting field, a maritime exhibit, and an outdoor cooking space. Don't be surprised if you are drawn into a traditional game or invited to sit down for a conversation on a fur-covered bench lining the walls of one of the houses. The native staff at this site dress in traditional 17th century native clothing, but speak from a modern perspective, so they can engage with you about Wampanoag history and about the cultural survival of their people. Those dressed in traditional clothing are native people, either Wampanoag or from another native nation. Plymouth Plantation staff dressed in modern clothing with name tags are also available to answer your questions. They too share a special passion for native history, past and present. After your visit to the home site, take the woodland path behind the planting field to number 3 on your site map, the Craft Center. The pathway curves uphill, but there's a resting vista along the way.
The Craft Center is a modern building. Here you can get a feel for the objects of 17th century life and speak with our modern artisans about their work reproducing historical artifacts.
The Craft Center is the last restroom stop before entering the 17th century English village. From the Craft Center, resume your journey to number 4 on your site map, the 17th century English village. This exhibit, with its thatched houses and gardens arranged along the one main street leading down to the water, explores life in the early years of Plymouth Colony. But the Pilgrim's story begins much earlier.
In the English countryside, a small congregation of religious dissenters was meeting in secret. At great risk to themselves and their families, they had separated from the Church of England, the King's Church, and established a church of their own in 1606. They strove to base their faith solely on biblical teaching, free of corrupt human doctrine and practices. Many English people in this period felt the church needed reform and sought to improve the existing church, to purify it. Members of this congregation, however, wanted to separate completely. Their enemies called them separatists. Persecuted by government authorities, the congregation fled to Amsterdam before finally settling in Leiden, a Dutch city renowned for its university and its thriving textile trade. In Leiden, the Pilgrims found toleration to worship as they chose. But as immigrants, they found that poor economic conditions brought hardship. After almost a decade in Holland, they made the difficult decision to transplant their church to America. Their rented ship, Mayflower, carrying 102 passengers, about one-half of whom were members of the Leiden Church, landed off the coast of Cape Cod in November 1620 after a 66-day voyage. Although they had intended to settle near the Hudson River, dangerous shoals and poor winds forced the ship to seek shelter in the protection of Provincetown Harbor. With winter close on their heels, the Pilgrims made the harrowing decision to sail no further and remain in New England. It was here, with the frigid winds picking up along the coast, that most of the adult men on the ship signed the document we know today as the Mayflower Compact.
Observing some not well affected to unity and concord, it was thought good there should be an association and agreement that we should combine together in one body and to submit to such government and governors as we should, by common consent, agree to make and choose.
This document, born of great necessity, laid the foundation for the fledgling community's civic life and for our American system of representative government. After several weeks searching Cape Cod for a suitable place to build their town, the exploration party arrived at what appeared to be an empty native village. It was, in fact, the Wampanoag town of Patuxet, left uninhabited after the devastating plague of 1616. The plentiful water supply, good harbor, cleared fields, and hillside location made the area a favorable place for a town. On Christmas Day in the year 1620, the colonists began to build their homes. In that first bitterly cold winter, one half of the colonists fell ill and died. In March 1621, the English made an alliance of mutual protection with the Pokanoket Wampanoag leader, Usamiquin, known to history as Massasoit. A month later, in April 1621, Mayflower sailed back to England. For both communities, there was no turning back.
In the 17th century English village, we hope you'll spend some time exploring. When you encounter someone wearing historical clothing, they are playing the role of an actual inhabitant of Plymouth Colony. They will talk about historical events and lifeways as if they're happening in the present. They can share with you their personal stories of life in England and Holland, while also expressing the 17th century hopes, fears, and viewpoints of the original Plymouth colonists. You might join them in mustering the militia, playing a period game, or preparing a meal. To help you better understand the 1600s, you will also meet some of our 21st century staff historians and volunteers, wearing modern clothing and Plymouth Plantation name tags. They may be presenting a demonstration, telling a story, or facilitating a discussion of colonial viewpoints that might seem foreign to us today.
We don't actually live here on the living history sites, so although you might be tempted to treat the village as a series of private homes, please don't be afraid to walk into the houses and any of the exhibit areas of our reconstructed sites. Photography is welcome throughout the museum. Before you leave today, don't miss the Nye Barn, number 5 on your site map. Located just a short walk to the left as you exit the visitor center, this modern structure provides more information about the rare breed animals that represent livestock found in 17th century Plymouth.
The Plymouth Plantation experience continues just 3 miles north in downtown Plymouth. Plymouth has been the center of community life for 4 centuries. There, you'll be walking on the ground where the events of the 1620s actually happened.
In 1636, John Jennings was granted permission by the town of Plymouth to build a water-powered mill for grinding corn. The reconstructed Plymouth grist mill is situated on the original mill site. Inside, talk with our millers as they give you a fascinating look at the mill's history, its inner machinery, and the ecology of Town Brook, the power source behind the mill's water wheel. You'll enjoy exciting hands-on adventures for all ages.
Following your mill visit, you can drive from the grist mill to the waterfront. Or, if you're up for a 10-minute stroll over a paved walkway, leave your car in the free, time-unlimited parking lot and take the scenic path behind the Plymouth grist mill as it follows Town Brook to its mouth at Plymouth Harbor. There, you can visit Plymouth Rock. Just a few yards away on State Pier, don't miss Plymouth's newest interactive exhibit, Should I Stay or Should I Go?, which invites you to consider if you, too, would undertake a journey across the Atlantic to a land unknown to you. You can learn more about the Atlantic world just before 1620 and enjoy hands-on activities for families. Thank you again for choosing to spend your day with us. To begin, exit the theater, go outside, turn right, and head down the woodland pathway to the Wampanoag home site. We hope you'll have a great time in another time.
Where are we going?
I'm assuming this way.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Good, something historic, honey. And educational.
You guys. A tree in the middle and a bunch of rocks. Full perfect gathering center. Full of another thing that you want to look at possibly.
Pause live stream.
No. It's live. You can't pause it.
I don't know. I'm asking.
Either you stop being live or you live.
There is no in between.
No routine. Of course you can have someone else host it, but then it still doesn't pause. Oh, this is cool. We got a big house. We got a big cage-like thing over there, and tree things, and a slanted thing, and a big little thing. Yeah. This is, I don't know. It might, this looks like some. Bunch of benches and stuff. Like the vlog with the boat. Got the boat. And and a huge log and a little bit of some kind of house.
The boat is frozen into the water.
Yeah.
You gotta get a picture of that.
Oh, it's already on YouTube.
I need it for school, Dum Dum.
Yeah, you can have them watch the video.
No.
Tell them 1823.
No.
You'll get it. 18 minutes, 23
There's
seconds.
a few that they were talking about.
There's something. There's something over here. There's something back here. There's a sign. Sorry, I'm blind. Can't see very well.
The boat's around.
And here you see the animal skin. Ew. This place, this museum thing, a Maryland museum. Yeah, we're there's fire in here. Oh, this is cool. Fire! Fire.
This is for an extended family for 12 to 16 people. And it should be inland, half a mile to 5 miles. And it should be a lot bigger too. Up to the size of a football field. But there should also be 3 fires in here and more insulation. The bulrush mats on the walls should go to the smoke holes and on the floor. And if there was that insulation in the fires, then it could get up to 80 degrees. This deer soup with corned beans, garlic, onion, and cranberries.
Ask her what she's thinking. You can't be shy all your life.
How many people did you say? 12 to 16. Not even close. The average would be 40 or 50.
Oh my god. So a lot of people in one spot.
Well, the size of a football field, so
It's not the size of
All right, here's the
usually.
tea.
it. That's true.
You just waiting for wood. Okay, so I'm gonna go put some corn in the mortar. Hi, how are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Bring the brass kettle out here, okay? Get some stuff cut up.
You ready? Thank you. I want one.
Interesting. Winter home.
Yeah. He's wondering what. We can make up. is. I'm not staying at the house.
I
Alright.
mean at the house.
Back in hell. And the other one that goes. Alright, we gotta go that way. Wampanoag. It was fun when I'd have to go into other people's classes and be like, what's it say? I was like, oh my god, Wampanoag. It's not that complicated, people.
W-A-M-P. Wom. A-N-O-G.
Oh, gee.
Wampanoag.
You make fun of me for not knowing how to say the finer part.
They're making soup.
They're grinding corn.
Here, I'll grind. Abby, this is a great idea.
How are you guys? Good?
Yeah? How about you?
I want to climb that big rock over there. I want to climb that so bad.
What?
I want to climb that so bad. Which is in there right now.
March to tomorrow.
No, why is it today?
I thought they said tomorrow was last.
No. They said that yesterday. So, hence, today is the last day.
Like I said. When you get in your house? 3 years?
No, actually, 2 years and a month. Give or take a week.
Our family. Anna, Papa, Terry.
They look interesting in your talking about.
Yep.
Is it there? Dun 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 dun.
Do not touch poison ivy.
Dun 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 dun.
I love
Dun
how
dun
it's singing.
dun dun dun.
That's why it was so hard to
Dun dun dun. I would have darn been able to do that. I have my own friends.
No, do not. And I don't touch them at all. Or die.
getting more education here on this trip than you would have the last 2 days of school. Did you just live stream it?
Yeah.
Oh, goody.
Watching and everything. What do you think?
Well, people saw this stuff. They don't know the real stories either.
Only the real stories. Yeah, Shadow. The Craft Shadow.
Everybody needs some potty. You're not live streaming on potty.
Is it green? Question, how does it green?
Henry, you got in the way.
These are very vivid
Do
colors.
you have any kind of questions?
Do you have any questions?
No.
Alright then. Tell me how you really feel.
Well, I just answered your question.
I heard it.
Wait a minute.